to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video, and in this video I'm going to touch on a bunch of subjects with the New York Giants. I would have broken them into individual videos, but I'm going to be very busy today. I will be live today at about 5 or 5:15 on my Two Nicest channel for our weekly recap. In addition to that, I'll be live tonight on Bad Dog's channel calling the Dallas Cowboys game, so hopefully some of y'all come on by for that. Should be a lot of fun, but in this video I'm going to touch on the continued progression of Andrew Thomas. I'm also going to touch on some of the things that Odell Beckham had to say about his former quarterback and Eli Manning and giving my opinion on that. In addition to that, I'm also going to touch on a few more things, and I'm going to talk about the Washington football team and their win yesterday and how it affects the New York Giants' potential playoff chances along with Daniel Jones and some of the things that Colt McCoy had to say about his leadership. So we're going to talk about a lot in this video, but I want to start with Washington. And, I think a lot of us had Washington penciled in for a loss against Pittsburgh. I mean, after all, Pittsburgh is undefeated. I mean, in terms of record, they were the best team in football. But I was always a little bit worried going into that game, being that Washington was coming off extra rest, being that they played on Thanksgiving, and Pittsburgh had played on, I think it was Wednesday. So they only really had, I think, 4 or 5 days of rest going into that game. Washington was extra rested. I wasn't shocked that Washington won the game. I thought they would at least keep it close. They ended up getting a victory. And now Washington and the New York Giants both sit at 5-7. Of course, the New York Giants own the tiebreaker. And right now, with 4 games to go, we control our own destiny. And that's all you can ask for right now as a New York Giants fan. Is it going to be easy? No, but it never is. And I've been saying that 6 wins would probably get us in. I was banking on Washington losing to Pittsburgh. But after Washington won, I sat back and I said to myself, you know what? If we're going to get in, this is the way you want to do it. And, of course, a wild card possibility is still a possibility. We would probably need 8 wins to get that. We may need 8 wins to win this division when you look at Washington's remaining schedule. They play at San Francisco, who didn't look too hot yesterday against Buffalo, but definitely a game they could lose. They play Seattle, then they play Carolina, and then they play at Philadelphia. It is completely possible, the way Washington is playing, that they could win at least 3 out of those 4 contests, meaning the Giants would have to match them. Of course, we have the Cowboys in the last week, and then we have 3 tough games coming up. And we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals, a game in which I think is very winnable. And in order for the New York Giants to win it, they have to keep doing what they're doing. But when I really thought about it, I said to myself, I don't want to backdoor it in, because we know better than anybody as New York Giants fans, it's about how you're playing going into the playoffs. And if we were going to enter the playoffs with 6 wins, well, that would mean that we won 1 out of our last 4 games, and that's not the way that you want to get in. As a Giants fan, I want them to win as many games as they possibly can. Win 3, win 4, whatever it takes. Find a way to get into the playoffs. And if you're hot, maybe you're a threat to do some damage. At the end of the day, football is a game in the trenches, and the Giants' trenches are certainly working. And if they're going to win this week, especially against a team like Arizona, that's how they're going to do it. And that's going to bring me to Andrew Thomas. I'm going to pull up a stat from PFF that is just ridiculous of the way that he played this past week. And it's been insane, the progression of this tackle. I mean, it's just been absolutely insane. Halfway through the season, or, up to this point, 6 weeks into the season, half the fan base was saying he's a bust. Some of my subscribers were saying we need to get him off the team. That's how bad he looked. But he was a rookie. Rookies take time to grow. And, of course, we all know now that Joe Judge stepped in, and it looks like that had a lot to do with it. But Andrew Thomas is playing on another level. He played so well yesterday that you're not going to believe what I pull up for you guys. He also had the highest PFF grade of any tackle in any individual game, rookie tackle, in all of football this year. I think it was a grade of over 87, but I'm going to pull up the exact quote from Twitter and how Andrew Thomas performed, and then we'll jump into the rest of the stories. The top rookies of Week 13 by their metrics, and this isn't just tackles. This is every rookie in the NFL. Andrew Thomas had the highest grade of any rookie in the NFL. You see names like Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson on there, obviously wide receivers, running backs, Dantzler. He was number 1 in the entire league. And if that's not encouraging, I don't know what is. And it has been a hell of a turnaround. And it just goes to show you good things come to those who wait. And right now, what is driving this offense is Andrew Thomas and the rest of that offensive line. I'm going to give Cam Fleming credit as well. Cam Fleming had a terrific game. He actually graded out higher than Andrew Thomas did. Both of them were in the high 80s. I think they were both around 87 or 88. But this Giants offensive line has been miraculous. They've been marvelous. They ran for over 190 yards yesterday, or Sunday rather, on the ground. against one of the best run defenses in football. They rank third. You have to love what you see out of the Hogmollies, and specifically Andrew Thomas. And as a Giants fan this week, I would like nothing more than to see Andrew Thomas knock Isaiah Simmons on his ass. I cannot wait to see this matchup, and we'll see how the rookie that most Giants fans wanted, does when he potentially goes up against Andrew Thomas. Now, a lot of people are saying that Andrew Thomas may be matched up against Marcus Golden. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But if the Giants are going to continue to win football games, they're going to do it by running the football. Next thing I wanted to pull up for you was some of the things that Colt McCoy had to say after the game and what he had to say about Daniel Jones. And I think this is incredibly encouraging. And these are the types of football players I want on my team. Both Colt McCoy and Daniel Jones. I think Colt McCoy in this quote shows tremendous leadership as well. And some of the things he said about Daniel Jones was really encouraging. I'm just so proud to be a part of this team, and you're starting to feel that more and more from the players on this team. They love playing for Joe Judge. McCoy said after the game in which he passed for just 105 yards on 13 of 22 passing, we had 0 points at halftime, and the defense was playing lights out. And we rallied together, and they helped me out. They calmed me down. I felt like I played a little better as the game went on. I was seeing a lot of things early. They pressured a lot, and I wasn't confused on a whole lot of looks. I was just kind of seeing it too quick. I just needed to calm down, take a breath, and once we started to run the ball, I felt a lot better. Daniel Jones is a great quarterback. He's the leader of this football team, said McCoy. He didn't miss a beat in meetings. He knew he wasn't going to play, and from things he helped me with on the sidelines and during the week. We have a great relationship. The Giants are lucky to have him, added McCoy, and it's looking more and more likely that Daniel Jones is going to start, but you love to hear that from, about the second-year quarterback from the veteran backup, Colt McCoy, hearing that Daniel Jones is going out of his way to do everything he possibly can to help Colt McCoy in that football game, and you love to hear it, and I'm glad that Colt McCoy got the job done, and the Giants got a W. Then, I kind of wanted to jump into some of the things that Odell Beckham had to say. Matter of fact, I'll pull up this quote first. Regarding Eli Manning, and I happen to agree with it. And I don't always agree with a lot of things that Odell Beckham says. If you watch my channel, you know I'm not the biggest Odell Beckham fan. Now, he did go on to say some things about Pat Shurmur that I may not, necessarily agree with. But I did want to pull up some of the things he said about Eli Manning. I will tell you where I ran into trouble, Beckham said, All Things Covered podcast. I felt like they never put people around Eli. I know I got a lot of blank when I talk bad on Eli, and I never once said a bad thing. If anything, I just speak the truth. The only thing I can look back on and be like, man, I regret saying that is saying he's not the same player, even though it's the truth. And it is the truth, but he didn't have to do it in the fashion in which he did, complaining about playing on the football team, and the one player he mentioned in that interview was specifically Eli Manning. You never throw teammates under the bus, in my opinion. You always keep that in-house. It bothered me because they never built around him, and we were just drafting. But we were never drafting and not building an organization and a franchise. My frustration grew because it was another 5-11, and we were just never good. Even the year when we were 11-5, the defense was holding teams to 10 points a game, and we were only good because of the defense. My frustrations grew, and I felt like they weren't growing, and I had wanted more. And I understand being frustrated, but there's ways to deal with it and there's ways not to. I don't agree with some of the things that Odell Beckham said, But in terms of this quote, I completely agree with him. You had half the fan base that blamed Eli Manning for everything, and I never felt that Eli Manning was close to the primary problem. The problem was the poor drafting after the poor drafting. And that goes on Jerry Reese. Period. End of story. And then the New York Giants had to rebuild. It is what it is. You can't live in the past. But I wanted to give Odell Beckham credit for coming out and saying something that I completely agree with. I think the New York Giants failed Eli Manning. I don't think it was the other way around. Next quote I wanted to pull up was this, and this is the last one. I ran into that problem when I feel they weren't growing and evolving as an organization, he said. I wasn't winning, and I hated losing that bad. I was having great seasons, but I hated losing. I hated it. And I feel like that's where I ran into the problems. And then he later went on to talk about Coach Pat Shurmur and some of the things there, and I'm not going to get into that, but I didn't agree with everything he had to say there, but I wanted to give him his credit of what he had to say about Eli Manning and give my opinion on that, and I think he was completely right. As far as Andrew Thomas goes, man, this guy is a beast. And it's looking more and more like the New York Giants made the right pick at number 4. And as a Giants fan, you better be excited because right now there isn't a better tackle in football in terms of the rookie class over the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's how good he's played. That's how good this offensive line has played. When you look at the running rankings in terms of a team, the New York Giants, after starting horrible on the ground, I think their highest rushing total was like 70 yards over their first 3 contests. They're somewhere around there. They were probably bottom in the league. Now ranked 10th in the league in rushing yards. Over the last couple weeks, I think they're second in the league over the last 3 weeks in terms of running the football. They've surpassed 100 yards 7 times. And in terms of balance in play calling, the New York Giants have been able to run the ball a lot more than in prior years. They're running the ball on 43% of their snaps for the year. It's much higher recently, but that still ranks 13th in the league. They become a much more balanced offense. To put that in perspective, the Giants ranked 30th and 32nd the previous 2 years in that category, in 2019 and 2018, and they haven't ranked as high as they have in both those categories dating all the way back to 2010. The New York Giants are getting back to their roots, and Andrew Thomas has a lot to do with it, and you got to love what you see. It's on to Arizona, and the New York Giants have to continue what they've been doing here over this last month or so, and if they do, I'm very confident they'll be able to come out with a win. As far as Jones goes, sounds like one hell of a leader. Got to get him back on the football field and continue to win some of these football games as we try to get into the playoffs and see what happens there. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.